Okay, let's talk about one of the most famous prayers on the planet. Even if you've never prayed it yourself, you've almost certainly heard it. But have you ever stopped to think about the real story behind those words?
First off, you've got to appreciate just how massive this prayer is. We're talking billions of people. It's way more than just a religious text. It's become a global cultural touchstone, connecting countless communities around the world.
And why is it so universal? Well, it all goes back to its origin. For Christians, these aren't just any words. They're believed to be the actual words of Jesus straight from the Gospels. And that, right there, gives the prayer this incredible weight, both in private and in public worship. And when we say global, we mean global. Just look at this list. This prayer has been translated into hundreds, maybe even thousands of languages. It's pretty amazing, right? It connects all these incredibly diverse cultures through the exact same set of ideas.
So, the big question is, where did this prayer actually come from? Well, the answer's a little surprising. It's not in just one place in the New Testament, but two, and they're a little different from each other.
Okay, check this out. On one side, you have Matthew's version. It's the longer one, from the famous Sermon on the Mount. And on the other, you have Luke's, which is a bit shorter and comes after a disciple asks Jesus how to pray. And notice those small differences in the wording, like debts versus sins? Those tiny changes have sparked centuries of discussion. It's fascinating.
So out of those two, it's really Matthew's longer version that became the one most people know. It's the one that kind of set the standard and became the framework for the prayer that we hear all the time today.
So how is this prayer actually put together? Because it's not just a random shopping list of requests. No, there's a really smart, powerful logic to its flow, a kind of blueprint for faith, you could say, that early Christian thinkers absolutely loved.
The structure is actually super simple, but really deep. It's split into two parts. First, you have the you petitions. It's all about God, hallowing His name, His kingdom coming. Then it shifts to the we petitions, our needs, daily bread, forgiveness. A lot of early writers saw this as a parallel to the Ten Commandments. God first, then our neighbors. Pretty cool.
Okay, now we get to the really fun stuff, the mysteries. If you dig into the original Greek, you find this one word, epiousios, for daily bread. The thing is, this word is, well, it's basically a ghost. It shows up almost nowhere else in all of ancient Greek literature. So what does it mean? Is it literal bread for today, spiritual food, or even the bread of the future? Scholars have been debating it for ages.
And there's another one. The Greek word for temptation, perasmos, has a double meaning. It can mean temptation to do something wrong, sure, but it can also mean a trial or a test of your faith. That's a pretty big difference, isn't it? Are you asking God to keep you from sinning or to give you strength when you're being tested? It changes the whole vibe of that line.
So all these tricky Greek words bring us to the next chapter of the story, translation. And let me tell you, the choices translators made hundreds of years ago are a big reason why you might hear different versions of this prayer today.
So let's solve a little mystery. Debts or trespasses? What's the deal? Well, debts is actually the more literal translation from Matthew's Greek. But back in 1526, this guy, William Tyndale, was translating the Bible into English and chose trespasses instead. Why? He probably wanted it to match the words that came right after the prayer in the text. And just like that, one translator's choice created two different traditions that are still going strong.
And get this, that famous ending, "For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory," turns out it wasn't in the original prayer. The earliest manuscripts don't have it. It's what's called a doxology, like a little burst of praise, that the early church tacked on for worship services. It just goes to show this wasn't a static text. It was a living prayer people were actually using and adapting.
Okay, so this history of the prayer being used in worship brings us to its really central role in one tradition in particular, Roman Catholicism. For Catholics, this isn't just a prayer. It's seen as the prayer. It's like a summary of the entire faith all in one place.
And this isn't some new idea. We're talking way back, like the 3rd century. A theologian named Tertullian said the Our Father, which is what Catholics usually call it, is basically a summary of the whole gospel. The thinking was that every core Christian teaching is packed right into those few lines.
And it's not just something they believe, it's something they do. The prayer is woven into everything. It's taught right before baptism, the moment someone can officially call God Father. It's said in every single Mass, right before communion. It anchors the daily prayers of monks and priests, and it's a huge part of popular devotions like the Rosary. It really is everywhere.
Remember that doxology, the for the kingdom part? Well, in the Catholic Mass, they do something really interesting with it. It doesn't just get tacked on to the end. First, the priest says a little prayer that builds on that last line, "Deliver us from evil." Then, the people respond with the doxology. It creates this really cool back and forth, a dialogue, to wrap everything up.
So that leaves us with one last thing to chew on. If this short prayer really is the whole gospel in miniature, then what is it asking of us today? I mean, what does it actually look like for God's kingdom to come on earth? What does it mean to forgive someone's debts or trespasses in our own lives? After 2,000 years, those questions are just as real and just as challenging as they've ever been.